Hi, my name is Jorge Zornberg. I'm a professor in geotechnical engineering at the University of Texas at Austin. I served as president of the IGS, the International Geosynthetics Society. And on behalf of the IGS, I'm presenting a 1-hour lecture on geosynthetics, an introduction to their types and their functions. So the target audience is undergraduate students in civil engineering, but in their very first exposure to geotechnical engineering. So this is the first time that the student is exposed to sands and gravels and silts and clays. And the proposal is that this is also the first time that they are introduced to another geomaterial, which are the geosynthetics. This is a single lecture, but it's part of a bigger program, the Educate the Educators program of the IGS. We know that this introductory geotechnical engineering class is packed with very important material. So our goal is to make it as easy as possible to you, the educator, to implement this material. Let me tell you about this lecture. As mentioned, the target audience are undergraduate students in civil engineering. In the US, this typically would be a junior level course. The duration is 60 minutes, even though it can be easily extended to perhaps 2 hours by incorporating some experiential learning components. This is a materials class, which is no different than the introductory geotechnical engineering class, where students are introduced to a very relevant material, which is soil. The objective is to introduce very briefly the properties of geosynthetics, which are the properties that make them suitable to replace soils as construction materials when appropriate. This is a 1-hour lecture, but I have organized it into 4 short recordings. The first one will be an introduction, definitions, terminology, motivation. The second one explains briefly the different types of geosynthetics. We then get into a third recorded lecture on functions of geosynthetics, their key properties, how they relate to the material that students have already learned in the class, and a summary relating the types and functions of geosynthetics. Learning objectives. On completion of this class, the idea is that students that take this class should be able to list 7 out of 8 types of geosynthetics. They will be also able to list 5 out of 7 geosynthetic functions that will be described, and they will be able to go a little bit more deeply describing the characteristics of 3 of the geosynthetic types and the characteristics and key properties of 3 of the different geosynthetic functions. Finally, the goal is for them to be able to assign correctly the functions that correspond to 4 of the geosynthetic types. A few additional words about curricular implementation. The idea is that the emphasis will be with the introductory concept. And just to give you a sense on how this is implemented in a syllabus at UT Austin, this is our introductory geotechnical engineering class. It has a comparatively small number of lectures because this class has a lab. So by the time that we get to lecture 24, which is in red here, when we teach geosynthetics, the students have already been exposed to index properties of soils, soil classifications, hydraulics of soils, effective stresses, compaction, consolidation, shear strength, and it is at this point that they see how these properties relate to those of geosynthetics. And then this is not a design class, so we do not get into geotechnical design, but just we get on how the properties are used in geotechnical applications. Use of the lecture material. This material is for you to use. I prepared it on behalf of the IGS, but I'm responsible for any inaccuracy. The material is copyrighted, but the copyright is released provided that the material is used for educational purposes and with proper referencing. Let me say a few words about the umbrella program, which is the Educate the educators program. Several objectives of this important program. One of them is to provide material for immediate implementation of at least one class on geosynthetics, and this is the difficult part, to be offered to all civil engineering students. Beyond that, this is indeed typically a 16-hour program that also offers information and application and educational material on upper level undergraduate courses, and covers also material that can be relevant for advanced classes or for graduate level classes. And it's very important the discussions that occur within the forum of this program regarding implementation of the educational material in the classroom, regarding the potential needs for curricular changes. Out of all these objectives, the one that we're going to cover with this lecture essentially focuses on this first objective. If you're interested about the Educate the Educators program, this is the website of the IGS, so you can find the contact information here. More importantly, you can get information about your national chapter of the IGS. This is the website of the IGS Foundation that supports this Educate the Educators program. And here is additional information on the web page regarding specifically the Educate the Educators program, and it includes the results of a recent evaluation of this program, as was published in the recent International Conference on Geotechnical Engineering Education. So I thank you for watching, and I very much hope that this material on geosynthetics will be useful in your next teaching of geotechnical engineering at the undergraduate level. Thank you.